The following announcement is paid for by the Wrestling with Nerds.
From Mordor to Hogwarts to Gotham, the nerds have come together to create a show for nerds by nerds. Join nerds doing nerd things as they talk about all things nerdy. Stay up to date on the show by liking the Nerds Doing Nerd Things Facebook page.
This honky tonk man, greatest intercontinental champion of all time, and you're watching Wrestling with Nerds podcast. Yes, that's my favorite. Shake, rattle, and roll.
What's going on, wrestling nerds? And welcome to this week's episode of the Wrestling with Nerds podcast. We are talking about WrestleMania 3. But before we get into that, I gotta say hi to the other half of J&J Security. Hi, TJ.
Hi, AJ. What's happening?
Not much at all. But then it leads me to Ryan, and Ryan did something this week that you guys just saw about 35 seconds ago. Ryan, how did that come to be?
What's the old mafia saying? I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. No. I've got a good friend. His name's Brandon Kelly. He works close with Honky, and he got that for me. I greatly appreciate it. I've been thanking him for about 3-4 days now. We were on I'll give him a shout out. He did a live autograph session. I think it was Friday night or Thursday night. Thursday night, and I bought a couple of different things. Me and AJ did.
Always want to support the people that support us.
That I'll get at I'll get to AJ at WrestleMania. But it was a lot of fun listening to Honky talk during that autograph session. I think they're gonna do other ones. We'll keep you guys posted if they do other ones. But yeah, great friend. Good shout out to Brandon Kelly for getting me that. Appreciate it a lot. We will see those guys at WrestleCon. We have shirts for those two that I will present to them at WrestleCon when we go up there for WrestleMania during WrestleMania weekend.
They're already on the way.
Awesome.
Very excited for that. But we're talking about WrestleMania 3. Ryan, I have to fix some things behind the screen here. Why don't you guys start digging into it while I fix my boo-boo?
I mean, we can shake, rattle, and roll into this.
WrestleMania 3 was TJ's pick. This is his first WrestleMania pick of our WrestleMania series to lead us to the road to nerds at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 3 is the most, I think you could say, it's not the greatest WrestleMania, but it is the most iconic WrestleMania. It set the stage for what will be the boom of the wrestling industry with the main event of Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. I believe the attendance record set is 93,172.
What arena was that in?
I think it's the Pontiac Silverdome.
Just making sure Hulk Hogan got it right this time.
I'm pretty positive that the record that it broke was from the Rolling Stones, which is a huge feat at this time because 87, the Stones are still
freaking huge,
still a big name.
I mean, they're still huge today. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that'll live through a nuclear blast are cockroaches, Cher, and probably the Rolling Stones.
There was a Simpson joke with that.
There's a lot of matches on this card.
Second to last match kind of goes back into what we had at the top of the show there.
I love how Wikipedia tries to be correct because it says the attendance is 78,000. Meltzer, I think, probably has a field day with this, but I don't care. But yeah, they're in the Pontiac.
We really don't care about them anyway. Suburb.
A suburb. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word of Detroit. It's where the Lions played football up until Ford Field was built. It hosted a lot of big events. Yeah. So this is the third installment of WrestleMania. We get the huge Andre turn, which I said it a couple weeks ago. Up until I got old enough to start watching VHS tapes, I grew up with the idea that Andre was always a bad guy. Andre and Hulk were never teammates type deal. Like I never knew that occurred until I started watching other older VHS tapes.
That's nuts.
Um, like I had the action figure of Andre, the Mattel or the Hasbro of Andre with the black singlet, and I'm like, Andre's always the bad guy, Hulk's always the good guy, and that's how I always thought it was. And then I realized, oh no, I'm an idiot. These two were friends first. Um, but it's a prime example of, and they get it a lot where they're like, oh, Andre could have done what Hogan did. Anybody could have done what Hogan did, is being the front and center of this wrestling boom. Go back and listen to the promos of Andre challenging Hulk Hogan for the World War Wrestling Championship.
You had this.
Oh, barrel.
Yeah, no burial.
You know how many times I had to like go back, re-listen to it, and be like, "What the fuck?" Like closed captioning on Peacock couldn't even get it right.
Yeah, I give Andre a lot of credit. Andre is a stunning. I really wish at one point I would have been able to see him. But I've seen Big Show, and I've seen Kali, and I've heard Andre would make both of them look small, and that's an amazing feat.
I
Because
remember
Big
being
Show,
told stories that a normal soda can in a normal person's hand, you know how it normally sits, would be
covered.
put
It
both
would
of
be
your
like
hands together.
it would be like if you couldn't see the bottom of my can. It
Exactly.
would be that. His ring size was, you could stick a silver dollar through it. Andre's physical features is just amazing from what we've all heard and seen. I wish I would have seen it once or twice. Um,
I
he
was always
that
told he was the nicest human being in the world.
uh, I've heard he was nice when he wants. Andre was nice to people he wanted to be nice. Remember, we just mentioned no. That was Macho Man. Macho Man had baby oil on. He hated Randy Savage with a passion. He would pull out Randy's hair. He would step on Savage and look at Elizabeth and go, "What do you think of him now?" Andre just didn't like Macho Man, and I think it was because Macho Man was so intense, and Andre wasn't. Andre was laid back. Andre hated other giants. Him and John Studd, he hated John Studd. If you followed us last week where we watched WrestleMania, and Andre and
2 weeks
John
ago.
Studd.
But yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Andre and Studd have a body slam match, and if you watch the match, Andre lays in some chops. Like there's some serious chops to the chest where they are laid in there, a little hard in the corner for him, and that was just Andre. Andre had to. If he liked you, he liked you. If he didn't, he didn't, and he didn't have to like you.
And there weren't a thing you were going to do about it.
No, and at this point, this was a weird point because Andre had just had back surgery. His body was starting to fail him. The moniker of this match is that Andre had been undefeated for 15 years and had never gotten a shot at the world title. But it was more of his body was falling apart.
Yeah.
I've heard stories where when he went in for this back surgery, they didn't know what kind of sedatives to give him to knock him out to do the back surgery. And
All of it.
he
All
talked to
of
the talking to the anesthesiologist. That they asked him, "What do you drink in a normal day?" And he said, "Well, I know it's at least 2 gallons of Jack or 2 gallons of vodka before I even start feeling a buzz."
That's
So
six.
you,
That's
It was
6.
something between what you would give a grizzly bear and an elephant.
yes, you can imagine them trying to figure out what drugs to give Andre for back surgery.
Just throwing that out there for anybody who doesn't know this. A pound, a gallon of anything, like alcohol or liquid wise, is 8 pounds. That man drinks 16 pounds of alcohol just to feel it a tiny bit.
Yeah. So
What I have two shots in.
And it's been said that Andre was grumpy and maybe didn't want to do the job to Hulk. And if Andre didn't want to lose, Andre wasn't losing. There was no changing that big man's
It's
opinion
like
on that.
Brock taking it from
Um,
Undertaker. I love listening to that Paul Heyman thing.
If Andre wanted to win, Andre was gonna win, and Andre wasn't showing Hulk his hand, and that made Hulk very, very nervous. He trusted Boss, but I don't think he really knew what was gonna happen until he hit the
I mean,
ring.
but since you mentioned WrestleMania 1, news dropped today. We have a brand new Hall of Famer going into the WWE Hall of Fame, Muhammad Ali. And it's funny how whenever we talk about something, it like something in that something comes out. Like, hey, look, they're in Las Vegas. We were just doing shit in Las Vegas. WrestleMania 1, Muhammad Ali.
You go ahead and touch on it. We have what, 2 or 3 new ones since we last spoke.
We talked about Paul Heyman.
Talked about Paul Heyman. Now we have Bull Nakano, one of the best women's wrestlers. Her and Alundra Blaze had some really good matches in the States in the early 90s and mid 90s, but her and Alundra Blaze or Medusa also fought in Japan, and she was the first one that I can remember coming over and having a presence. She was a bigger woman, not overly bigger, but she was bigger. Her finish was a top rope leg drop, and as big as her butt was, I mean, it wasn't huge, but it was a bigger butt. I was
PJ
like,
Bad.
That had to hurt. The leg drop. She won the WWF Women's Championship from Alundra Blaze, I think twice. I could be wrong. I think it's once or twice. I didn't look it up before we started. But her and Alundra had her good little feud in WWF. It moved on into WCW where they were trying to do something with women and it just didn't work. So I'm happy to see that she's going in. She's she's the cornerstone for the Japanese women's wrestlers coming to the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Express, the tag team of Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. I think what they're trying to do is these are the forgotten soldiers from the first WrestleMania, because you got at WrestleMania 21, you had Hogan and Piper and Sheik and Koloff and Orndorff went in. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All those guys from WrestleMania 1 main event went into the Hall of Fame. Now it's WrestleMania the leftovers, so to speak. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but
it's about
kind of
time
where it's painted
they're
at.
Getting put in.
The
and
US
do you think
Express,
that's all Hunter?
Well, from what I've heard, it's Hunter and Rock. Rock is involved in the process of Hall of Fame, and I don't think there's 2 better people to be in charge of that than Hunter and Rock.
2
I'll
people
give them credit for that.
Love this company and want to
love the business in general, not just WWE, but the business in general. It's a great thing.
Now, do you think the U.S. Express has anything to possibly do with who we lost this year?
See, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets announced like as the last person.
I'm one of those ones that think that should wait. I didn't think it was right when Eddie went in right away.
Okay.
To be honest with you, it's too soon for
it's still fresh.
Yeah, it needs to have, like, give it 3-4 years and do it. Do it like when you take. You got to think about it as the business aspect. WrestleMania goes all over the country, and usually when it gets to certain spots, it's normally like a person from that area or that kind of thing, or like the headliner. Like Paul Heyman, we're in Philadelphia, for God's sakes. Everybody knew it was going to be Paul Heyman. So, like, Bray's not going anywhere, unfortunately. He's always going to be there to put in the Hall of Fame. Wait till you get to Louisiana. Wait till you're going to the Superdome for WrestleMania again. And introduce Bray, put Bray Wyatt in the Hall of Fame.
Is that actually where he's from, though?
No, but that character's origin is from LA. So just go there, or not LA, Louisiana. So just go there with
Let's say you weren't wrong with that.
like for instance, for this WrestleMania, we're so close to New York that the U.S. Express going in makes sense. Muhammad Ali, a boxing town that is Philadelphia, makes 100% guarantee. But it confused me because I swore Muhammad Ali was already in the Hall of Fame in the celebrity wing,
That's
and
what I thought too.
and then I started thinking, and it's the other box though. Like Tyson's in the Hall of Fame, not Muhammad Ali. Um, so it'll be interesting. U.S. Express deserves it. They were the tag team champions at the first WrestleMania.
Mhm.
It's
Who do you think inducts Muhammad Ali?
That's going to be interesting. I might be Mike Tyson. You could if
Hulk Hogan.
you could. Hulk
I-
Hogan could definitely be one. Mike
Ryan,
Tyson.
can you fucking imagine?
Sylvester. I mean, they're in Philadelphia. Sylvester Stallone could definitely induct or Muhammad Ali into the Hall of Fame.
Can
I
you
think
fucking imagine if now to induct Muhammad Ali into the WWE Hall of Fame? Don't even say his name. Don't have to. They just one of us is getting punched, if not both of us, because Ryan's gonna just shoot through the fucking roof.
He's only gonna clear me by a little bit, Bob.
that'd be nice. But U.S.
AJ
Express
needs to just
deserves
duck.
it. U.S. Express definitely deserves a Hall of Fame nod. Mike Rotunda is one of the best mat wrestlers there is, even without the IRS gimmick. Mike Rotunda was always fun to watch. Barry Windham's Barry Windham. Barry Windham in the 80s was the golden child.
Mhm.
He was the guy that everybody had pegged to become the NWA World Heavyweight Champion at some point.
Oh,
It never happened for whatever reason. Them two together. Fun fact: the music you just played was not meant for Hulk Hogan. It was meant for the U.S. Express originally
is that why Hulk?
because Hulk came out the Eye of the Tiger, and
I
they
didn't know
created
that.
ring music. They created ring music, and the Real American was supposed to be for U.S. Express, but they were on their way out the door, so they gave it to Hulk Hogan.
History was made.
Knowledge drop.
So I agree with that one. Muhammad Ali, that's your celebrity wing one. I thought he was already in, so kudos to them for putting him in. It'll be fun to see who's left. I feel like there needs to be a woman. There needs to be that female part left, and then honestly,
It didn't. We already. Isn't there a female?
oh yeah, I'm
one?
sorry, we got Bull Nakano. I completely forgot. I don't think you're gonna get many more. You might get one more.
Well, we need a male single.
True, but you got your manager, you got your female, you got your tag team, you get your male, and that's probably gonna be it. And I saw on our message board somebody commented about it skipping it every few years. No, I don't think they need to skip it every couple years. They just need to limit the Hall of Fame class. The class doesn't need to be what it was when it was boom, where it was popular to watch the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, when it was 8 people and it took 4 hours. And I think Mr. T's still loving his mama, that type deal. It just needs to be a small class like it's been. That way, there's plenty to grow off.
Yeah, I think
Of course.
you have one singles, male, female, tag, whether it's male or female, and manager, celebrity. Done.
Yeah, I
Don't
agree.
overcrowd it.
No. But I'm looking forward to it already. The Hall of Fame ceremony is going to be fun for us.
Are we gonna get
with-
dressed up?
What are we? What?
You, last couple of years, I've seen a lot of people in the audience. It's after SmackDown. It's
Yeah.
literally right after SmackDown, and people are there in like suits.
I'll buy one of those tuxedo T-shirts.
Yep.
That you know what I
Yep.
like about those tuxedo T-shirts? It's formal, but it also says "I'm here to party."
Fuck, what movie?
Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby.
Is it Ricky Bobby?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Well, it's
Cal
another
Naughton Jr., dog.
Yeah.
It was.
I like to
Snap
picture
on
my
somebody.
Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt.
It means I'm formal, but I'm here to party. I say that all the time, and my wife loves it. She thinks it's funny.
Ricky,
But
how do you turn the TV on while you're listening to music?
so Hall of Fame keeps getting better. We might get another one. We got Muhammad Ali today, so I would expect the middle of the week next week we're gonna get probably the last inductee for the Hall of Fame. Um,
So yeah, let's get back into WrestleMania 3. And before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe. Go check out all our Nerds Doing Nerd Things, Wrestling with Nerds, All Star 15 TV merch down in the Streamlabs link below. Where the fuck did we leave off?
We never even got
by the
into the
way,
matches.
by the
Oh.
way, show of hands, who was alive when this Rumble happened or this Mania happened? I'm sorry. That's what I thought. I wasn't born until September of this year. So none of us were alive for this WrestleMania. And did he just call me old?
Maybe.
I'm gonna punch him in the throat. So to build some more for this.
Make sure you're not gonna dick punch me.
Grab his junk and twist it.
Sorry,
Oh,
Sean, if
yeah.
you listen to this.
So we had to build for Piper's. Piper's Pit was crucial, or the Snake Pit, Piper's Pit. They were both very crucial talk segments building to this WrestleMania. You had the Snake Pit segments with Hogan. Originally, you had the Snake Pit moments with Honky and Jake, where Honky Man hits Jake over the head with a guitar. One says it was not rigged to be propped. The other one says it was fully propped. I can go either way. I think it was probably propped, though not as good as what things are today by today's standard, but it was propped. And I think it was just Jake using that as a point of emphasis on how he got injured.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite weapons in the wrestling ring is a guitar.
There's a video out there
It got better when they swapped them out with the balsam wood or whatever it's called.
where they exploded.
So they exploded. At one point, I mean, Jeff Jarrett, God forbid we give props to Jeff Jarrett because bleh. But that one time he loaded that bitch up with baby powder and drilled somebody with it. I think New Jack did it in ECW too. And that just makes one big giant dust ball. And I can't imagine it's fun swinging that thing if it's loaded with baby powder.
What's funny is there's
They're
a
baby powder than baby oil.
there's a video out there of a bunch of NASCAR media guys, Dave Moody, all of them they're doing something with Jeff Jarrett, and I forgot who gets clocked. And Moody will tell you if you call his show and ask him about it. They were seeing stars for like hours afterwards.
I don't know if I could ever be prepared to take a shot from a guitar.
I don't think I'd be prepared to take anything over my head.
I just take you chin to your chest and kiss your ass goodbye, my friend.
Isn't that what they said? You clench your teeth and duck?
Yeah.
Not duck, but...
So let's get into it. There's 12 matches on this card, which is typical for an early WrestleMania. It kind of shrinks up in them for a while, and now we get 2 nights of WrestleMania, so we get between 12 and
what do you like better?
556 matches.
Do you like the long Sunday, or do you like the 2 nights now?
I think it's the one thing COVID gave us that was good.
Ask me after this WrestleMania whether I like the 2-day or the 1 day. Just a point of emphasis for us. Saturday alone, we are going to NXT and the first night of WrestleMania. So for us, from noon to 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, it is wrestling. Ask me after that.
Ryan, you did say going into this that we're either going to love or hate wrestling by the time it's done.
Oh, yeah. My statement to these two when we booked everything was by the time this week is over, you guys are either going to want to stop doing the podcast, stop talking about wrestling, never want to watch wrestling again, or you're going to fall more and more in love with it like I am, because I'm not going anywhere. But it's going to be a test. It's going to be a solid test of how much wrestling can you take within a week. But I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of fun stuff we're doing. So make sure you stay tracked to social media. I think we might even start launching some videos on TikTok WrestleMania weekend. Um, you can find us there at Wrestling with Nerds.
There'll be
Find us on
TJ sleeping
Facebook and
somewhere.
everything.
We're
Definitely,
also gonna have live reactions after
we
the fact
will.
when we get back to the hotel room.
I wish you, man. Why don't you guys tell them we're all in one hotel? That makes it weird. But yes, there
I
will
didn't say
be. We will have TJ sleep numbers. So like it'll be like, you know how like not another teen movie when Reggie Ray gets a concussion and it counts how many concussions he's got. We're gonna have that for TJ on how many times during the week from Thursday to Monday or Tuesday morning he leaves for the airport. How many times we catch him sleeping? There will be a counter.
Anytime
And
we're in transport, bud.
we'll take your bets on the over under on that. I know Nate's like, I'll take over and under at least 15. So the longer card. I don't mind a longer card if the time matches, like the matches that aren't supposed to be very important, aren't super long. I understand try to get everybody in and not make it a battle royal. That makes it kind of fun. Uh, so like first up we have the Can-Am Connection, Rick Martel and Tom Zink versus the magnificent Don Morocco and Ace Cowboy Bob Orton, managed by Mr. Fuji. Um, it's a good match. It's a good starter. Can-Am Connection, Tom Zink and Rick Martel were a good little tag team. They don't last long. Tom Zink leaves WWE and heads to NWA, and then they take Martel and they team him with Tito Santana, and we get the awesome tag team of Strike Force, and we get
I
them
love
for
the
about
80s
2 years.
names.
We get them for 2 years. They win the tag team titles, I think, twice. They had some really good matches later on with Bret Hart and Anvil, and then they ended up losing the tag titles to Demolition at WrestleMania 5. But that's where Strike Force. If you look at Can-Am Connection, their whole outfit, that's literally they literally take Tom Zink out, throw him away, insert Tito Santana, change the name, and it's the same presentation. Don Morocco and Bob Orton, they're heels. They're with Fuji. Don Morocco's kind of towards the end of his career. Bob Orton's not too far off either. I think he wrestles for a few more years.
And then comes back
Really.
around 2003, 2004 to.
Yeah, it's a
The
good little
cast.
tag match to get started. About 5.5 minutes. Strike Force, Can-Am Connection get the win. Next up is a match that got more interesting about a month ago. Billy Jack Haynes versus Hercules with Bobby Heenan. It's a singles match. These two, I never liked Hercules as a heel in the early stages. He looks like Lou Ferrigno, or not Lou Ferrigno. Who'd I say? I'll say the football player played for the Broncos and the Raiders. If you watched Ernest Goes to Camp, he's the construction worker, the foreman that wants to destroy the camp. That's Lyle Alzea. It got interesting. It got interesting a month ago because if you haven't seen the news, Billy Jack Haynes killed his wife in Portland, Oregon. So yeah, just got a little crazier. I never was a Billy Jack Haynes fan. It never made sense to me. I mean,
that's not the craziest thing in the next two matches.
What it's not like what wrestler comes to the ring wearing a black hat but wears Oregon colors? It's just creepy. No, I'm just kidding. But like this match ends up in a double count out.
What do you think?
The full Nelson gets applied. Billy Jack Haynes gets busted open on the outside. Really bad blade job. I think AJ actually caught it, which is surprising because he doesn't usually catch those things.
I've been getting a lot more observant, and you can't say to the contrary to that.
This was just a battle of the full Nelsons, basically, is what this turned into.
And then Bobby Heenan comes out of nowhere and kicks him.
Yeah, Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan's busy for this show, ladies and gentlemen. I think he's in there like 4 times.
Was that normal back in the day, where a manager would manage multiple superstars and then in a night
They,
do
they all
that?
had in the WWF. They all had staples.
Okay.
You had the Heenan family, which I mean the Heenan family at one point, like this time period in '87, the Heenan family would have been um, Bundy, Andre, uh, Orndorff, Rude,
Hercules,
Hercules, and then
Harley Race.
Harley Race. They did have Harley Race. I forgot about Harley Race. Jimmy Hart would have the Hart Foundation, Honky Tonk Man. Jimmy Valiant at this time had the Dream Team with Beefcake, Valentine, and then Dino Bravo. Um, so like managers always had a core group of people they managed, and they would work throughout the night. You would usually see them in the beginning, middle, and end. And then if you ever take notice, Randy is the only exception to the rule of having a manager, a valet, and being a face. But he was a heel first.
I was saying,
Heels normally had managers and face or valets. The faces did not. But everybody loved Elizabeth so much that it was fine when they turned Randy face. That finally Elizabeth is a face too. Because to be honest, Elizabeth never was a heel.
no. Well, doesn't she become one when they go to WCW?
That's WCW. We're talking about 1987.
I was just asking a question.
But at that point, it was women's rights to hit people in the eyes with the heel of their high heel shoe. Bitch.
Stab you with a stiletto.
So yeah. This match was kind of the one that I could, if you asked me to eliminate one match from this card, Billy Jack Haynes, Hercules, probably the one I'm
Really?
eliminating.
That's the one?
Not the next one?
No, because did you laugh at the next match?
Not for the right reasons.
Well, you have to think of 1987 time frame, not 2024. This shit's hilarious, no matter what you think.
No, it's hilarious.
In a should it be called a 6-man match or is it a tag match?
No, it's a 2v2 because it's the two normal people and then you stack the other.
That's where I was going with that. Yeah, we get Hillbilly Jim, don't go messing with the country boy, the Haiti Kid and Little Beaver versus King Kong Bundy, Little Tokyo, and Lord Littlebrook in a
it was Little Tokyo, right?
tag team match. If you didn't take notice, if you watch this back, they are 4 little people and 2 giant of men. And Bundy threatened from the very beginning he was gonna squash him, and people didn't think he was gonna squash him, and he did. This match is fun. This match is entertaining. It was not back and forth, but it was a lot of. I think one of them bit Bundy on the ass, which is hilarious. Little Brook, Little Brook and Little Beaver are 2 of the most popular, famous mini wrestlers of all time.
There you go. Mini.
So it was quite nice. Haiti Kid, of course, has had a run here where he was leading up to WrestleMania 2. They used him in the Piper Mr. T boxing match. They had Haiti Kid was a big Mr. T fan.
Mm-hmm.
So what do Piper and Orndorff do? They shave his head to look like Mr. T. To insult him. He ends up being in Mr. T's corner for his boxing match. I also think he did a little bit in between the 2 manias. He did a little bit with Junkyard Dog. But it was a fun match to watch. I think it was supposed to be something quick paced and entertaining for like the kids. Because I don't know how to say this. The idea of minis back in the day were always kind of curious, especially in '87, because there's not a lot of knowledge about them. I mean, I grew up thinking they were kids. I mean, when I was little, I thought, hey, if they're in there doing it, I can go in there and do it. Not realizing that they're full grown adults.
Mm.
Oompa Loompas wrestle.
I was waiting for one of you to say full size, more like fun size.
I
But
was gonna
that's
say I don't know
besides the
about
point.
fully grown adults.
But it was
So
a
it wasn't a
fun.
tag match; it was a tag and a half match.
It was a fun match to watch.
You throw mushrooms at them. It
Hillbilly
works for
Jim.
Mario.
Hillbilly Jim has gotten that
Happy Mario Day!
he
That was
started
yesterday.
off as a guy with it by the name of Harley Davidson was his original wrestling name. Don't Go Messing with the Country Boy was pretty popular. His LJN, I think, outsold him and Iron Sheik's LJN, I think, are the two highest selling LJN figures there are.
No shit.
Because they were the easiest ones to get a hold of. I know I had like 4 or 5 of them. My friend, my close longtime friend, his dad, when we were younger, looked exactly like Hillbilly Jim. The red T-shirt and bib overalls were his workwear every day. So I always was a big fan of Hillbilly Jim. Not the greatest wrestler for a big man, but he never claimed to be.
Everybody loved him though.
But it was good. And then next up we get King Harley Race versus with Bobby Heenan and Fabulous Moolah versus the JYD, the Junkyard Dog, and a loser must bow match. Basically, it was for Harley Race's crown.
Yeah.
Basically, is what this was for. When Harley Race left the NWA to come to WWF, it was a huge deal because Harley Race at that time was the most decorated NWA champion of all time. He was an 8-time NWA champion. And it's kind of the same, kind of like the same motif of Dusty when Dusty leaves in '90 to come to WWF, and it's like they gave him the King gimmick, and everybody was kind of like, "What are you talking about? It's Harley Race. Why are you giving him the King gimmick?" Same way with Dusty when he comes in 1990 and they give him his polka dots. But just like Dusty, Harley Race makes this work. This is what a real pro wrestler can do. They can make the gimmick work in their favor. I.e., one that couldn't do that is the Red Rooster. Terry Taylor couldn't do the Red Rooster to save his life because he thought he was supposed to be Mr. Perfect. But he sells it perfectly. Harley Race is still Harley Race, whether he's the king or if he is just handsome Harley Race. And if you look at him, he ain't so handsome. But I ain't afraid. I'm not telling him that to his face that he's been dead for a couple years now. Good match, back and forth. Junkyard Dog, ultra popular in Mid-South, way over in Mid-South. Comes to the WWE, is still way over. The Rock and Wrestling cartoon he was a main part of. I believe, and I didn't look it up, but I remember hearing the voice. James Avery, the one that played Uncle Phil, also voiced the cartoon original Shredder, is the one that voiced JYD for the Rock and Wrestling cartoon. So that was pretty cool. It's a good match. Of course, the heels have to get the upper hand on JYD and Junkyard Dog, and Harley Race beats him, but he doesn't bow to him. He curtsies to him, and then proceeds to hit him with a steel chair
and steal his robe.
And then he does his dance, and it's like when you have Junkyard Dog playing his music and his dancing, especially in the '80s, you get the vibe of like the Fat Albert cartoons. Like you just see him strolling in the junkyard.
I just call it Fat T.
But like these matches, I mean, the matches we're looking at, only 2 matches go over 10 minutes for this whole card, and it works. I mean, it honestly works. Yeah, we should touch on that. We get a lot of interaction with Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball, Mary Hart from Entertainment Tonight. A lot of back and forth between Jesse and Mary Hart and Gorilla, and Bob Uecker's love for Moolah was pretty prevalent and pretty funny. Of course, we get Bob Uecker. I think we get Bob Uecker for WrestleMania 4, 3 and 4 both. If you don't know the name Bob Uecker is Mr. Baseball.
Here's the pitch.
He's
Ah,
the
shit.
he's the PA announcer for the Cleveland Indians in Major League. So at this time he was Mr. Baseball. I want to say Mr. Belvedere hadn't come out on TV yet. That's where I first, besides here, I knew him for Mr. Belvedere, which was a sitcom there in the late 80s, early 90s about a British butler, so to speak, that just ends up at the wrong house and then ends up staying and becoming the family's butler. It was just a great show. But the dad of the family was Bob Uecker. I love Bob Uecker's interaction with the wrestlers, not just here, but at WrestleMania 4. It's the Andre Uecker segment is priceless. It's still one of the most watched clips of any of these WrestleManias.
What was his line to the red? He was standing on his foot. Or...
He said, "Could you get your foot off my shoulder?" And then he proceeds to choke him out, which is just hilarious.
Yeah,
next
Euchre
up
looked
is
like one of those little chickens that you squeeze and all their little things
next up
pop
is
out of their skull.
Yeah, next up was the Dream Team, which is Brutus Beefcake. Notice there's no nickname Barber yet. And Greg the Hammer Valentine.
I asked that. I go, is this where he gets it?
Yeah, versus the Fabulous Rougeos. The Rougeos at this time were faces. They weren't heels yet. They were the Fabulous Rougeos from Montreal. It's an okay match, but it was basically built so they could eliminate Brutus from the team. The Dream Team pick up the win off of a interaction from Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo, of course, that's what TJ was talking about. It's one of the worst moments of this card. Do you want to explain what happened to Bruno or Dino Bravo? I mean,
where he got his head blown off by the mob.
Do you remember the story about?
Yeah.
Stealing
cigarettes and
Dino Bravo was killed in early 1990s for messing with the mob in Canada and ended up with 11 bullets in the back of his head.
While holding the TV remote.
Yeah, which
knew
makes
he was
him think
holy.
that he was watching hockey, so he deserved it. No, I'm just kidding.
Probably watching my beloved Canadians.
Oh,
does this mean whenever I turn on hockey, I need to?
Does this mean it was probably was it worse than what he was watching beforehand?
Well, yeah, the Canadian. I don't know. Were the Canadians good in the mid '80s?
Yes.
Early 90s.
Yes, they won. I think their last championship in '93.
All right. Well, there's a little bit of Canadian stuff there from our Southern Canadian friend there, TJ.
Yeah, also known as Vermont, the 14th state in the Union.
Mm-hmm. South Canada, bro. This was exactly what it was meant for. Brutus didn't like the idea that they had to cheat to beat the Rougeau brothers, so he was out. Also, the fun note for this one, this WrestleMania, this is the debut of the carts, the ring carts, taking the guys in and out of the ring.
I liked it.
They don't bring them back until WrestleMania 6. But yeah, it was a nice little touch. It made them, they're above everybody in the audience when they came out, so you could see them.
You also saw them getting hit with everything under the sun.
They wasn't afraid to throw things at them back then, that's for sure, especially before they got to the ring.
I can just imagine how long those entrances would be if they were walking.
Well, I wondered too if they didn't do it for Andre specifically.
Probably. It was probably an idea after. Well, I mean, those carts. I think all those carts were basically crawlers, like the lifts.
Right.
Basically, is what they were made into. Because I think, is he here? I think it's either this one or maybe 6. It might be this one, but it's not on the one lift with Hulk actually goes up. and then he's like, it's like a scissor lift. Next up is a hair match. It's Hot Rod Roddy Piper versus the adorable Adrian Adonis with Jimmy Hart. This is Piper's swan song, so to speak. He's gonna retire. He's headed to Hollywood to do
They lived.
They Live and Hell Comes to Frogtown. That's the
Okay.
other movie that he went to go do at the same time. So he's leaving. He's made it aware that he's leaving. And Adrian Adonis is this is the if this match would have taken place 2 years before this, it would have been a lot better. Adrian was in way better shape 2 years ago than what he was here. Adrian's not really meant to be on the world much longer after this. I think he passes away in '89.
88, Independence Day.
Yeah, from a car accident in Newfoundland or
Yep.
Nova Scotia, somewhere around there.
Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And
Sad
he
story
was
on
a
that.
big boy.
He was in a car wreck with a group of guys, and there was another group of wrestlers behind them. He ends up in a waterway, and instead of the wrestlers in the other car helping, they go and pickpocket the ones that are in the car accident and leave you for dead. So it's a pretty fucked up situation.
Oh shit.
Don't wish that on anybody. But this is a really good match. Piper and Adonis work really good together, with Adonis being as much out of shape as what he was.
Mhm.
There's a lot of fun Piper antics. This is also the first WrestleMania where Piper is a face, because he's been a heel for the last two. A lot of fun back and forth. Adonis is the one that brings the hedge clippers to the ring. Becomes iconic for Brutus, because Brutus comes out after they put Adonis to sleep, and he proceeds to cut his hair, which is hilarious when you're watching, because he's all hot and sweaty, and they're trying to use the buzz clippers, and it's just not cutting his hair because it's so wet.
It'd be ripping
So then
him.
that's when they quit. If you actually, I think if you look, he does start bleeding. So then they start using the real shears to cut his hair. It's just a fun match. You can't really talk in depth on these matches when they're only like 7-8 minutes long. It's just fun battle back and forth.
I loved it. The matches were fun, but the stuff they did in between, I thought, like the interviews, the packages.
I mean, it was a spectacle. The pay per view was a spectacle. It
There
was
you
built
go.
to be a spectacle.
100%. It was, and that's the one thing I miss that new era could learn from, is the build before the matches. Make it so that people that haven't been following along, whether it be work schedules or whatever, are able to jump right back in.
I mean, WWE for the most part does very good jobs with their video packages. There's another promotion that barely doesn't do them at all. The other three letters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they can't even fill half the arena. You expect them to do advertisement videos?
I'm pretty sure if they hand out free tickets, they still don't show up.
Nope. But I mean, we're at match 6, so we're halfway there, guys.
Okay, we're at the Bon
Thoughts on the
Jovi.
first half? Thoughts on the first half?
A couple funny matches. Nothing really too serious.
It's a good start to premiere the preliminary part of the card.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting serious now, boys, because we're in a match that goes almost 9 minutes. We have Dangerous Danny Davis, yes, the referee turned wrestler, and the Hart Foundation of Bret Hart and Jimmy Evil Neidhart with Jimmy Hart versus Tio Santana and the British Bulldogs with Medusa. Or, no. What the hell was the name of the dog?
Dog?
Matilda. Took me a minute. I knew it was an M, but I just couldn't remember the name. There's too many M names in this. The funny thing about the beginning of this match, Jesse Ventura does a little promo in the ring, does a little bit of posing. I believe he uses TJ's phrase that he's never wrong. And they introduce the tag teams, and Jesse leaves the ring and takes Matilda with him. Why? I believe Bobby told him to, but he takes Matilda with him. This is a good tag team match. Dangerous Danny Davis is probably the worst wrestler of 1987. He was a referee that um, turned heel. He cost Tito Santana the Intercontinental Championship versus the Honky Tonk Man, and the Honky Tonk Man won it.
Mm-hmm.
Become the greatest. Later on, would become the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. And then he also cost the Bulldogs the tag team titles versus the Hart Foundation. And it was like, hey, your license is suspended. You can't referee anymore. So then he starts wrestling. This was kind of a thing to kind of showcase Bulldogs in the foundation more than anything. I think Danny picks up the win from the megaphone hit. It's a good, solid match. Tito Santana and Bulldogs, I think they've teamed together multiple times on different shows.
Yeah.
All three of them are great. There's not a better set of tag team matches to watch really in the 80s than Bulldogs versus the Hart Foundation.
How did they end up a family?
Well,
Don't give me that. They're all from Canada, so they're all related.
Bret
Jesus.
Bret Hart's dad, Stu, trained Bulldog, came from the UK. He is cousins with Dynamite Kid on one side. They come to Canada to wrestle for Stu. Davy Boy ends up marrying Diana, which is Bret's sister. So that makes them now brother-in-laws. And I'm trying to remember,
all in the family.
There is a relationship with, I want to say it was Dynamite Kid's wife is cousins with Bret. Could be wrong. But then Anvil is from Reno, Nevada. Went to college in California for shot put. He comes to Calgary to train to wrestle, and he ends up marrying Ellie, which is one of Bret's older daughter or older sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Then they become brother-in-laws. So everybody's brother-in-law to Bret.
I think it's kind of funny. Since we just mentioned Jim, he married and divorced, and then remarried the same woman.
Not shocking. That whole family is weird.
They can have their own family tree.
I hope and I pray that the Iron Claw movie might create more wrestling family movies, and the Hart family movie needs to be the next one. I think it would be really interesting, especially with the idea of Bret telling the stories of like they would have the bear under the porch, the wrestling bear, and they would let the ice cream drip on their feet, and the bear would lick the ice cream off their toes. That kind of fun thing when they were kids. That kind of thing would be a fun sight to see in the movie for some reason to me. I thought that'd be, you got this giant ass bear that you fed it Coke and peanuts. That's what it got for after it wrestled, was a bottle of Coke and peanuts.
Cocaine bear.
Fun to see.
What came to mind?
But the Hart family would be a fun movie next. It would be more, for me, it would be more entertaining to see than what Iron Claw was. I have watched it twice since it's came out, and there's still things about that still get to me that I don't like, that I don't want to like.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that it leads to more family wrestling movies, because there's a lot of, that's like an untapped genre, so to speak, that this world definitely needs to see, because goddamn it, I'm tired of copy movies. Next up,
remakes.
We get the Natural Butch Reed and his pay-per-view debut versus Coco Beware. It's a very short match. the Birdman, Coco Beware, the Natural Bush Reed. Butch Reed was supposed to be the Intercontinental Champion, rumor says. He was supposed to take the Intercontinental title off of, and I screwed that up, and I apologize. It was not Tito Santana that Danny Davis screwed out of the Intercontinental title for Honky to win it. It was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Thing is, I would have just went with it.
Nope.
You're the
Because
guru.
I don't want to get called out for being wrong.
Don't get married.
Been there, done that, pal. It was actually Ricky Steamboat, and I think this match was supposed to be Steamboat in the Bulldogs, but Steamboat's wife told him that he had to come home, so he went home. And they filled it in with Tito. But Natural Butch Reed was actually supposed to be the one that Steamboat dropped the title to. Okay. He no-showed, and Hogan is the one that suggested that Honky Tonk Man get the shot, and the rest is history. This is a quick match, 3 minutes 40 seconds. Butch Reed gets the win over Coco because hell, Coco didn't beat anybody. That was a star in the WWF. He would beat the jobbers, but he could never. He could beat the jobbers, but he was a jobber to the stars when it came to matches against each
Dolph
other.
Ziggler.
Yes. Next up, we get this. This is where it gets fun. The Intercontinental Championship is the IC champ Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Steamboat has George Animal Steel in his corner, and of course Randy has the wonderful Miss Elizabeth. This is one of two matches that goes over the 10-minute mark. It's the longest match on the card.
Rightfully
Some say for the longest time it's the match that made the card. And it was the greatest match in WrestleMania history for a long time. Your thoughts?
What is that noise?
TJ.
Nope, we got company. Josh is in here.
Send him. Throw him over the top rope. You are eliminated, sir. If you've played WWE 2K24 showcase mode, yeah, fuck this match.
By the way, hands on who's completed the showcase.
Hands if you haven't finished this match in its entirety. Fuck you, Savage.
Is there any truth to where they wrote this match out and went over it as much as they said it was?
Not they. Randy.
Randy
wrote this match out on a yellow tablet, and it was. I'm not shocked. But I think letting that part out kind of takes away from this match for me. While it is a great Intercontinental match, it's not, in my opinion, the best Intercontinental title match in WrestleMania history.
Okay.
It was definitely a change of pace for this whole card because everything's very slow for the whole till we get to this point. Every match has been, yes, fast as in the finish, but the match itself has been very slow. This is the first match that picks it up and gets on the rope, jumping off the ropes, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why it's so viewed as the greatest match on this card, because it was the only match that changed the pace of the card in general. But they're both great workers in their own right. I mean, Randy Savage is on his way to becoming World Wrestling Federation champion the very next year. Steamboat's on his way to becoming the NWA champion within the next couple of years. The following year, Steamboat becomes the NWA World Champion. His legendary 3-match run with Flair starts. So it's not like this is unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great back and forth. You have two stories going on. You have Steamboat and Savage, and then you have the whole Beauty and the Beast thing outside the ring with George Animal Steel and Miss Elizabeth, and how
Dude, Randy was getting pissed throughout this match. When he goes and gets that ring bell, and then George comes out of nowhere, and I thought he ate it.
Yeah, it's a great match. It's not. I'm not doubting this match at all. It's just not my favorite Intercontinental title match on WrestleMania card.
Which one's yours?
My favorite Intercontinental title match, believe it or not, is
At WrestleMania.
is Bret the Hitman Hart versus Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8. That's actually one of my top 5 favorite wrestling matches. Period. I love that match between Piper and Roddy only because of the build of Piper being part of the family in Canada. And the pre-match interview, he talks about Helen making them sandwiches and all this stuff and how they're so friendly. And they get into the ring and they're still friendly. But then there's parts of it where Piper kind of goes back on his heel tendencies. He hits Bret with a cheap shot that busts him open. Then he goes out eventually and grabs the ring bell and do I hit Bret with it? The referee's down. Do I hit Bret with it to keep my title? What do I do? Good angel, bad devil. What do I do? What do I do? He puts the bell down and then ends up getting called in a counter and loses the belt. And then instantly the bell rings and Piper breaks out of it and they're right back to being friends. And they hug it out and everything. It's one of my favorite matches to watch. Actually,
I very much enjoyed WrestleMania 10. Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the number 2 Intercontinental title match on everybody's list if this match is number 1. No doubt in my mind, this Intercontinental title match goes down in history as being one of the top 3, I would say. A lot of people say this is what made WrestleMania 3 as big as it was.
Wasn't the body slam?
You can't say that the Intercontinental title match is what drew the house compared to the world title match.
Mm-hmm.
When you didn't know what to expect from the Intercontinental match till after it happened. The house is already drawn. The house is drawn for the main event. I've heard a lot of people complain and argue about this and debate about this. And Al Snow's the best one I saw with it, where he said the build to the pay-per-view was Hogan Andre. Always was, always will be.
I mean, look at the little picture I have. WrestleMania 3 right next to Ryan's head. Bigger, better, badder, and it shows Andre and Hulk. Nobody else.
Yeah. It's all about Hulk and Andre. And we're going to get there because next up is the Honky Tonk Man versus Jake the Snake Roberts. We talked about the snake pit scene. We talked about the guitar shot. Jake the Snake Roberts has Alice Cooper in his corner. This is kind of I guess, more of the Hollywood influx in WrestleMania.
Mm.
Notice how non-spectacular the celebrity involvement is in WrestleMania at this point. It's not on the grander scale of being like the ringside belt bouncer and all that kind of stuff. This match was good to a point. Jake gets Honky gets the win by pinfall. Jake's pretty early in his WWF run here. Early 87. It's pretty early in his run. Good back and forth. Alice Cooper trying to handle the snake is hilarious because the snake outweighs him by like 150 pounds. And it was pretty funny. I will give him that. Of course, the snake back then was a sight to see. When you were a kid watching this, you look forward to, well, who is Jake going to put the snake on? And then, of course, when he turns heel, you're like, I don't want to see the snake. I don't want to see the snake. I don't want to see the snake. But it's just fun. This is gimmick 1980s wrestling at its best with the critters and all that kind of stuff. The pop and circumstances of WrestleMania 3 is alive and well. It's entertaining. Then we get this match kind of didn't need to be there. If you'd have cut this match and cut Haynes and Hercules, you got a solid card, in my opinion, of 10 matches. Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, who now don't have Freddie Blassie because the rights to them were sold. Yes, they did sell people back then. They sold the rights to the Iron Sheik and Nikolai
I
Volkov.
thought we stopped that in the 1800s.
Well, here's the best part. They sold him to a guy that his name was Slick, and he was a black man. So it all works out. Versus the Killer Bees, B. Brian Blair, and Jumping Jim Brunzell. Try to say that 4 times fast, TJ. Go ahead.
Don't want to, not gonna. Nope. You can kiss my you know what. I'll stick with the Killer Bees.
The Killer Bees, they were a fun tag team. Their gimmick was fun. I think they were faces at this point. What they would do is they kind of did Twin Magic before Twin Magic. But they didn't look anything alike. What they would do is at some points they wore masks in their career. And then they didn't wear masks. Well, what they would do is one would fall out of the ring, go under the ring, come back out. They'd both be wearing masks, and the other guy would get the pinfall. Couldn't tell them apart. Then they were wearing. You couldn't tell which one was way bigger than the other one before they had the mask on. But after you put the mask on, you can't tell them apart. That's the gimmick of wrestling. I may outweigh you by 50 pounds and it's noticeable, but if we put the mask on, we look exactly alike.
You're Spider-Man. No, I'm Spider-Man.
Iron Sheik and Koloff, of course, get the win over the Killer Bees. And it just sets up for the biggest and best WrestleMania main event of all time. It's definitely the benchmark. Hulk Hogan defending the World Wrestling Federation Championship against the undefeated man of 15 years, the 8th wonder of the world.
I thought you were going to say 1,500 pounds.
Andre the Giant. Depending on what stories you've heard, he's anywhere from 500 to almost 700 pounds.
Now let's be honest. This has been a great card to this point. I picked this pay-per-view. The rest of that card was great. I picked this pay-per-view for this match.
See, this pay-per-view, I knew 2 matches.
This is where we're going to get TJ's involvement in the show, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the match that he wanted to talk about. Andre and Hogan, of course, I did the build earlier. There's no more serious move you could do to Hulk Hogan than ripping his cute crucifix off.
That was
and
nice.
Andre did that. And that was like, wow. And if you go back and watch that promo.
It was wild. I was, because it stopped the promo right there and he went to go look for it.
It's funny as hell if you watch the promo. If you don't know the background to the promo and you just watch the promo, it goes from being a fun time to an absolute serious time. And it's Roddy Piper is the one that brings it home for me in that promo. Hogan gets presented the Wrestler of the Year award or one of the awards. And he thanks Andre, and Andre gets some other secondary thing, and Andre walks off. That happened the week before. Then Jesse Ventura says, I'm going to bring Andre out here next week, and we're going to have a showdown. Well, they show up, and it's Andre, who's been off TV, with Bobby the Brain Heenan. And Hulk is 100% confused on, why are you with Heenan, man? What are you doing? And then that's when Andre's raises him up with Andre's one finger is so big. He lifts Hogan's chin up and he says, I'm here for one reason, to challenge you for a World Wrestling Championship match at WrestleMania 3. And that place exploded. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. What are you doing? And then Hulk's also the same way. He's like, Andre, you can't be doing this. Andre,
he's supposed to be your friend.
Yeah, you're supposed to be my friend. And Heenan goes, if you don't believe it, believe this. And Andre, with one yank, rips his shirt and his necklace off and throws it on the ground and walks off.
Yeah.
And Hulk, I know the background story for it, so it's even more funnier. But in the process of Andre jerking Hulk's shirt off, Hulk has Vicks Vapor Rub on his finger. And if you watch the replay of it, when he yanks the shirt off, Hulk rubs his eye with the Vicks Vapor Rub, so he starts crying. Is the idea. and
Made him so sad.
yeah, and I just remember him like trying to get the tears to come out, and Piper just walks up to him and he goes, "You're bleeding." That's it. From where Andre grabbed him and he's bleeding on his chest, he just looks at me and goes, "You're bleeding," and it was like it totally turned the whole segment into a serious moment even more. And then Piper, of course, are you going to accept Andre's challenge at WrestleMania? And you get the giant Hulk Hogan, yes, that echoes through a crowd that probably didn't hear it at all. And we're off to the races to WrestleMania, and we get here, and it's electric, dude. The moment they come out to the ring, it's like you get the feels. Like even now today for me, they come out, they do the ring introductions, and you just have Andre. The sight of Andre on the cart, standing like a red oak tree, just non-emotional, doesn't move his arms, doesn't move his hands, nothing, just dead faces it the whole way down the ring aisle in that
It's
cart
all business.
is one of the best sights I've ever seen in wrestling. And to this day, when I see it, I still get goosebumps. And I think this Hogan's cart doesn't work for the entrance. He walks out to the
I was
ring.
gonna say I thought he walks.
Yeah,
That's
he
when he
walks
does
out
the
the ring. Yeah. And then I
the
mean,
irresistible force meets the immovable object.
you can don't get me started. Don't get me started.
What?
I have seen this match the most
I
of
didn't purposely do this.
any matches I've ever seen in my entire life is Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. I have seen this match too many times to count.
Enough to where you can verbatim the call of this match.
But look at the size of Andre, or look at the size of the Hulk. I mean, Andre's 7'4". Hogan is 6'8". To he's almost hulking up now, and then he goes to slam Andre and almost gets counted 1, 2, 3. This match was one that I grew up watching all the time, and I absolutely love this match. The dumbest part of this match is I don't know what Hulk was thinking. I don't know what he was thinking, that he thought he could pile drive Andre the Giant on the it's kind of funny because they said concrete, but if you watch the show, the ring is built on a stage. And when he flips the padding back, it's plyboard. It's like I don't think that big ass head goes through that plyboard. It's gonna leave a hole. A great little outside, and none of the only match that really went outside a lot was before this was Hercules and Billy Jack Haynes.
Yeah.
So a nice little outside ring battle between the two of them. Andre, of course, has the advantage for roughly 89% of the match. Nice little thing where Hogan comes up off the floor and he's leaning against the ring post, and Andre does one of his headbutts and he headbutts the post. And you put your hand up. Andre didn't put his hand up. You watch it again, Andre makes contact with the ring post.
I didn't think he hit it at all.
Oh, he makes contact with the ring post. Whether it's light or not, he still makes contact with the ring post. But it's like the turning point of the whole atmosphere of the arena.
Hey, Jim Epcot on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing.
It totally changed the dynamic of this match. If you listen to the crowd, if there was a way that you could just mute everything but the crowd and just listen to the crowd in this match, that's what makes this match even more bigger than what it is.
Go look at Hulk Hogan and The Rock. That match was mediocre at best. That crowd is what does it.
But there's a difference. This match was good.
Yes.
And the crowd was in it all the way. When Andre had Hogan down on the mat, stepping on him, doing everything that a giant should, the crowd was silent. They didn't know what to think about it. But the moment that Andre headbutts the post, that place explodes. Like, all right, here's Hulk's chance. And what does Hulk do? He goes around the ring, lifts up the pad, and he's I'm gonna power drive this big ass son bitch on this thing. Didn't work.
Not at all.
It was kind of like that high, and then drop down. And then we get back into the ring, and they're back at it, and Andre still has the advantage. And finally, Hogan comes off the ropes, ducks a clothesline or a boot, and drills Andre with a clothesline that knocks Andre off of his feet. And when Andre gets knocked off his feet again, that place explodes. And the one thing I remember from that is when he makes contact with that clothesline, the sweat goes flying off of Andre, and it was like, whoa, what just happened? Knocks him down, and we're off to the races to the finish. And I mean, we get the iconic bear hug with Andre and Hulk happens. That's kind of like one of those moments that even a dead move like the bear hug, and I mean a dead move by it's not a move that's used today because it's so slow that people don't like it. They made it, you had to pay attention because you didn't know if Andre squeezing the life out of Hulk Hogan was going to be the end of Hulkamania. They started the arm raises, the drop twice, and you're like,
I thought it dropped 3 times. I really did.
That's the fun thing is I always swore it dropped 3 times too, and he goes back and checks for a 4th time.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't just me, but I don't know. I've never heard it complained about. TJ, what do you thought?
Dude, I was just mesmerized by this match from beginning to end. Period.
It's just
we've talked about it on the show before. This is match 1 for me.
And he slides his hand down in between his arm to get the leverage, and then at that point we get Slammer, and Hulk with all of his might picks up Andre. Granted, I know the backstory when they wrestled before. Hogan had slammed Andre many times before, but Andre wasn't as big as what he was at WrestleMania 3.
Oh,
Andre was his absolute biggest at WrestleMania 3, and I fucking hate TJ Barnier's guts, and I'm gonna slap the shit out of him when I see him, unless he brings me
that. See, I've heard the story. You know the background of all the stories I've heard, that they weren't sure that was actually going to happen.
Well, yeah, I pointed on it earlier. If Andre didn't want to lose, Andre wasn't losing.
And the thing
Andre
is,
was not talking about this match to Hulk Hogan until they got to the ring.
If Andre didn't want you to do anything to him, it wasn't going to happen. And until Andre told him to, how'd you say that, Ryan?
Slammer, boss.
Then Hulk knew what was going on. It was that moment.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember there was some documentary or something we watched where the discussion for how this match was going to go was had between McMahon and Hogan. And Hogan wrote out, he wrote it all out, and he said, well, I'll run it by Andre. And he never got a word back. Never didn't know anything. But then the match starts playing out like he wrote it and like he's picking up on it. And I don't remember what we were watching when I heard this story, but that has stuck with me. And just, I mean, this, like I said, this is match 1 for me. This comes not long after it. This is a product of, I mean, Fry, where did you watch this the first time?
I don't think he was born.
I wasn't born, but this match.
No, but I mean, like,
match was on that tape, the tape that I talk about all the time about Hulk Hogan, the Hulk Hogan face matches, and I watched this on repeat all the time.
This for me was a Betamax tape that my father has recorded to this day at his house, and I don't know how many times I've watched it before. Now I can go back and watch it in like good quality, but like it's got the lines, in it as he's like trying to, and it's just, you marvel at it because it seems like a movie, right? It doesn't seem like a, yes, it's pro wrestling, but it doesn't,
it's truly Godzilla real. Versus King Kong. It truly has that type of build, or could. Nowadays, everything's diluted, but that's the type build fill that this match has. It's Ali Frazier. It's Godzilla versus King Kong. It's 8th level Mario Brothers. It's got that build to it where it's like you can't
World 3 level 4.
Just like what AJ just said, the sight of Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan nose to nose, and all of the flashbulbs going off is a sight unto itself that's unbelievable.
For our younger viewers, there were cameras that you had to chink,
Yeah.
chink.
And the flash was like, this big.
Yeah. The flash was bright enough that it blinds you for 4 hours because you're still seeing the spots from it. Like, oh,
If
that
You just looked into the sun.
if you take a picture of a bald guy, you better close your eyes.
no pictures of AJ.
But I mean,
and
it
then,
was.
of course, Hogan slams Andre. He drops the big leg. 1, 2, 3. Hogan is now way bigger than what he was, as he was already the biggest guy there. He's now beat Andre the Giant. He's still the WWF champion. And we're off to the races with Hulkamania. It's alive and well. It goes on to bigger and better things. But Andre and Hogan, WrestleMania 3, it's TJ's number one. It's always got a special place in my heart because it was probably the first main event of WrestleMania that I ever saw. I'm looking forward to. I was looking forward to seeing what was going to happen after this because we get the whole build for WrestleMania 4 with these two are the main catalyst for WrestleMania 4. I was such a Hulk Hogan fan that I still am, but this was always my go-to to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the idea of Hogan beating the almighty mega giant that is Andre.
I don't think I've watched a single other match as many times as I have this one.
Yeah, for sure. This is why I love the version of wrestling from the 80s and 90s. I like the big man wrestling, and this is probably why. But WrestleMania 3 for me will always go down as the catalyst to what we have today as far as WrestleMania goes. So I'll start the rankings, and I will give WrestleMania 3
As
while
a
the
whole.
card as a whole, but as the card's not all that great as far as long-term matches, big matches, all that kind of stuff.
In
But it
between
has two.
segments.
But it has two of the biggest matches of all time. The segments between matches are probably some of the best. I'm gonna give WrestleMania 3 a solid 8.5.
TJ, your pick.
I feel like Ryan, his pick makes sense. I'm gonna hold it in higher regard for the one match, but to give it a fair grade, I mean, everything that I've watched of it now, and having watched and actually had to analyze it, I mean, I'm gonna go with a 9, just because it was so. You had so much going on, and yet they fit it all in. The point now they would do this amount of matches in 2 nights. They did it in 1.
I know I'm gonna get my ass kicked for this.
All right, Uncle Fester, give us your disappointing grade.
7.5.
Yeah, not that bad.
I'll take it.
It. You have 12 matches, 10 of them nobody gives a shit about. Am I in the ballpark with that one?
Probably.
Yeah, I guess the IC championship match people care about. But there were 3 or 4 just stinkers.
But also, just a point of reference for people that don't realize this, the 80s pay-per-view builds were not on television. So you didn't have weekly battles with the same guys on this. These matches were told what was going to be.
I mean, we're spoiled today, honestly, by all accounts.
Oh, yeah. Like, they would have interview segments with these guys, which is why Brother Love's show came about after Piper's show went away. And you had Piper's Pit and the Snake Pit and the Flower Shop, I think was Adrian Adonis's place. That's where they would build these matches up for pay-per-views. Because back in these days, it wasn't television made the money. It was the house that made the money. You drew people on TV to the house, not people in the house to the pay-per-views, if that makes sense. So you talked about your matches that are going to happen at such and such locations. Come get your tickets to get to the show
Yeah.
because you made your money at the houses. So these builds for these matches didn't really have a whole lot of involvement with each other, except for if it was going to be attacks like Honky and Jake, and so it's that way. So the builds for matches back then were a lot different. So you didn't really get that giant build to WrestleMania matches like you do now. I get your point at 7.5. I'm fine with that. Basing it off of 2 matches makes plenty of sense on that. But yeah, so WrestleMania 3. What's next, AJ?
You're audible because you aren't going to want to talk about this one. You mentioned you were going to change it.
No, I thought you're next.
Nope, you are.
Oh, you just did WrestleMania 21, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. I'm going to do WrestleMania 10. WrestleMania 10 is the first WrestleMania without Hulk Hogan. We just come off of Royal Rumble with Lex Luger and Bret Hart winning the Royal Rumble. So
Hogan.
What are they going to do with the world title? How are they going to who's going to face Yokozuna? We have two people claiming to be the Intercontinental Champion. The only way to settle it is by hanging the belts above the ring and seeing who can climb the ladder first.
Didn't I mention this like a half hour ago?
Yeah, good job, numbnuts.
Bury the lead.
And then we get a showcase to start the show off with Brett versus Owen. That'll be fun to talk about. We get a match that's cut from the show because it runs too long. We get Randy Savage in his last WrestleMania match against Crush in a very unique rules match that I'll dive deep into. What else do we get on that card? We get a Mr. Perfect sighting. We get a Roddy Piper sighting. But WrestleMania 10, I figure it goes on great. I did WrestleMania, you did WrestleMania 21, we did 3, I'll do 10. I think your next one is 17.
Yes.
TJ's still undecided.
People still say WrestleMania 17. Okay, phrases. I haven't watched it. This will be the first time I watch 17. That's gonna be fun. I've never
seen 17.
No.
Oh wow. The best card on the match isn't even the main event, in my opinion.
Oh?
Oh yeah, we'll dive deep into that one. My favorite match on that card is not even remotely close to the top of the card. It's just more fun to watch. But when you watch it, you sit back and get a little belly laugh.
I think I know where I'm going, but I'm not telling you guys yet.
All right. Well, stay tuned. Raw is tonight. Well, Raw was started a half hour ago. Don't know what happened there. Fill it in the blanks later.
We got things to go get doing.
Yeah, we'll check with SmackDown and we'll get back to you guys live next Monday night.
Yeah, we'll do it next Monday because I might be intoxicated next Sunday. St. Patty's Day.
I'll bring the corned beef. You bring the cabbage.
Okay. I like
want
food.
That shit. I don't want that shit
like
smelling at my house.
All right, everybody. Peace out. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you later.
Peace.
Doses.